Dark Souls is back, remastered and just as you remember it. The series might be finished, but the embers burn on in its fans who crave more dark, mysterious and brutal challenges. That was a bonfire metaphor, by the way. If you picked up on that, then not only have you mastered a literary device, but this list is for you. 7 games that alter the DNA of Dark Souls in new and sometimes ingenious ways. Not too far, mind you. All of these games are recognisably Souls, either in their mood, mechanics or daunting combat. Put your dodging pants on and join us for a run through the genre they call Souls-like. We really have to get a better name for that genre.
Let's start with the best. Long before Dark Souls, Team Ninja cut themselves a reputation for hardcore melee action with the Ninja Gaiden series, which sadly was exclusive to consoles. I mean, yes, you might find a PC game called Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z on Wikipedia, but as Alien taught us, some things are better left uninvestigated. Thankfully, the studio ended up bringing a big dollop of their history to the Souls formula with Nioh. This is a game about slicing up mythical beasts and spirits from Japanese folklore, while rubbing shoulders with historical figures from Japan's Sengoku period. It couldn't be more Ninja Gaiden if it was called Ninja Gaiden. In fact, Nioh shines precisely because, despite a few familiar mechanics, it's a very different beast to Dark Souls. You've got your shrines acting as checkpoints and leveling up with experience that you can also lose if you die, sure, but the key pulse makes stamina management a whole new challenge for both you and your enemy, while the ability to change stance adds extra tactical depth to the flow of combat. Isn't that all any of us want from life? Tactical depth? Previous generations had to join the army for that sort of thing.
Sultan Sanctuary might be 2D, but a bit of flattening can't hide the resemblance to Dark Souls. For starters, there's that gloomy aesthetic and the salt you get as currency for defeating enemies. Then there's the opaque writing, delivered through cryptic dialogue and preset phrases left behind by other players. And of course, there are unforgiving bosses with names like the Sodden Knight, the Bloodless Prince, and the Lady with Teeth for Eyes. At least 2 of those are real. To beat them, you'll need to learn their weaknesses and attack patterns, executing well-timed dodge rolls and wearing the right kind of pants. When you put it all in a checklist like that, it's easy to make a case for Sultan Sanctuary being overly derivative, but it's so lovingly made that in practice it feels more like a fan tribute than a cynical clone. Praise the salt! Yeah, that one's really in there.
Hollow Knight is arguably more Metroidvania than Souls-like. But hey, isn't Dark Souls in many ways a Metroidvania in 3D? Right?
Oh, no, Rich!
Why does nobody want to have this fight with me? Alright, well, Hollow Knight is definitely Souls-ish. It's got a great gloomy atmosphere going on, and you have to revisit the spot where you died to get your items back. Plus, it replaces bonfires with benches, making every save point feel like a nice sit down at the park. But rather than being a land of doomed knights and terrible dragons, this subterranean world is literally crawling with icky bugs. It might not sound very inviting, but hey, you know what? You can make bugs look pretty nice if you turn them into hand-drawn cartoons. That's the very specific lesson of Hollow Knight right there. Hey, as long as you're learning something, that's what's important.
Titan Souls is often the first game people mention in relation to Dark Souls, but that might have more to do with the title than anything else. This is more of a top-down boss rush, with the unique hook that both you and the boss only have 1 hit point each. The bosses cheat a bit, covering their weak spots with multiple barriers to prevent you from giving them a singular thwacking. It won't save them though. If there's one thing fans of games called Souls know how to do, it's try again. Titan Souls started life in a game jam, which lends it an attractive simplicity. But it trades on its one gimmick throughout, and the repetition and difficulty will probably only appeal to the most hardcore. Then again, you're a Souls fan, and we've just told you there's a challenge you probably won't get through. You're gonna complete the thing out of spite now, aren't you?
Lords of the Fallen's executive producer once claimed he'd lost sleep over how often his game was compared to Dark Souls. And to be fair, Deck 13 probably got more flack than they deserved for this familiar take on its ideas. This was the first major game to successfully emulate the Souls formula, starting completely from scratch. And it has a couple of its own tricks too. Lords of the Fallen sets itself apart with a heavier feeling combat system in which both the weight of your attacks and armour matter, affecting your speed and power. Just about every mechanic you can think of in Dark Souls is present and correct, with a few tweaks, but the addition of a risk-reward multiplier that increases if you keep fighting without stopping at a checkpoint is inspired. It's also a recipe for ground teeth. But if you really cared about losing your progress, you wouldn't be meddling with the Souls genre anyway. It's the pastime we like to call playing with bonfire.
Deck 13's second stab at the Souls formula is novel in that it's sci-fi rather than dark fantasy. There's plenty of fun to be had with the combat in the Surge, especially with your exoskeleton armor that can be customized piece by piece. To upgrade it, you need to dismember specific body parts of your enemies and harvest the materials. See? That's new! Disgusting, yes, but points for novelty. There's a lot to like about this hefty brawler. It's just a shame that the samey looking environments don't feel as inspiring as you'd hope for a whole new world, and that no matter how many parts you dismember, you can't keep the protagonist from looking like his stepdad in his favourite fleece. Not really the ultimate power fantasy.
As far as we know, Immortal Planet is the only instance of an isometric take on Dark Souls. In that sense, it has no trouble standing apart from its towering inspiration. Thing is, there might be a reason this hasn't been done before. Framing the same careful, real-time combat in a fixed perspective is far from ideal. It's a little like Nioh in that you can see how much stamina your enemy has left and use it to your advantage. So if you like that, try this. The low price point and short length make Immortal Planet feel very much like a bargain bin Souls, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Great things come from bargain bins, as your thrifty great-aunt will tell you. Okay, that's 2 family members we've made up for you now. Probably time to wrap things up.
That's a whole 7 games for you to play through, by which point From Software will hopefully have decided they aren't completely done with the Souls series after all. Don't get us wrong, there's a lot to be said for a good clean trilogy, but equally we could go for Dark Souls every day forever. Something for Mr. Miyazaki to think about. In the meantime, make sure you keep it PCGamesN for more videos like this one. As they say in Dark Souls, praise the subscribe button. Yep, that's the line. Nope, you just remembered it wrong.